Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We've spoken to you so many times about the beauty of who you are. And we've said to those who sit in front of me in person, to those listening later, that inside of you, at a level that is multidimensional, which you cannot even fathom, is the actual creator of all things. The biology you carry, that you call yourself, is temporary. This day, my partner brought you a concept on purpose that would help you to understand more about the reality of the fact that reincarnation is the way of it. The word is not necessarily the word we would use. We would say life expression. When your soul would come back and inhabit that which is another human being's body that you continue with as your soul. And so there is something here to look at. It's beautiful. What did you think when you saw the proof that was given today that the potential of coming again is real? So now it's time to start connecting the dots, because there is a responsibility that starts to come with the elegance of your maturing soul. I'm going to call this channel Soul Stewardship. You've got to start understanding and cognizing the truth of the fact that you're ancient. Question. For you to use spiritual logic. If you come back again, and you're a human again, is it an accident? The answer you would give is it's obviously not an accident. It's the way things work. Next question. If it's the way things work, there has to be a working plan. Would you agree? If there is a working plan, then you have to ask, who is working the plan? Where did it come from? Is it this way by accident? No, it's this way because it's planned. If there is a plan, what kind of a plan is it? And the answer is a benevolent one. One that knows who you are. The thing that we have approached before that is so difficult for you. A question was asked this very day that my partner could not answer, and so I will. What is the distance of time from the death of the human being that has your soul to the time when you will come back and inhabit yet another body with the same soul? What's the distance of time in reincarnation? And this is where it gets good. Dear ones, there's no rule that says you have to stay away. There's no rule that says you have to come back at a certain time, a certain place. There are no parameters that are spiritual that says there's got to be a rest period. That's funny. Instead, you wait for your karmic group to have the right time and the right place so you'll be back in a benevolent way and do what you came to do. And sometimes that means that if you left too soon, the group has to grow up and you'll come back later. Sometimes those in the group have to pass away and reincarnate so you can reincarnate with them. Your time frame, therefore, is dependent upon what happens on the planet, not on rules. Now, I want you to analyze this for a moment, because this is a benevolent plan. It is not one that adheres to certain kind of spiritual doctrine that says this must be and this must be. It is one that celebrates the soul's returning to the planet. Now this is all starting to shift. It's all starting to change. The shift that we have talked about, that my partner teaches, is real. I am here, talking to you in this way, in this channeling way, because of the shift. There would be no Kryon if you didn't make it. And yet I came in 26 years ago, before the potential. And the reason for this is we could see the wild cards in progress. Those who will notice that I showed up just about the time that the largest wild card occurred. And that is the fall of the Soviet Union. That really took the energy out of World War III. There are still those, even after it didn't happen, that are trying to rekindle the idea of another war. So invested in an old energy that for eons ramped itself up to go to a certain ignite point. And it's something that they say has to happen. And yet it didn't. Dear ones, the shift is real. And with the shift comes many things that my partner has discussed, but not this one. Soul stewardship. For the first time, dear ones, you start to cognize, to understand the system. I would like to explain something to you. An old system of unawareness has you reborn into the planet to start over. The only things that you bring in akashically are slight remembrances that will trigger certain actions or make you fear or perhaps make you successful. So they are energetic in the fact that you remember that which you did. And it either helps or hinders, but it's a lesson. In that old energy, you literally will start again, make all the mistakes again, until you come to the end of your life. And if you're metaphysical, you'll say what you're saying today. This is my last time, you will say. And of course it won't be. But you're tired, because you had to go through it yet again. Dear ones, the shift has changed it all. The very paradigm of soul return is going to carry different attributes. Don't be shocked when I tell you that these attributes are going to be greater awareness, more benevolence, a more mature and elegant countenance. Listen to this. We've said this before, but it's time you really understood it. Karma is no longer needed. It worked in the past, but it is a blind energy of unfinished business. It's not elegant. It simply pushes and pulls. It is responsible for so many things that you see, perhaps you didn't even understand. Why would you have families of generations of firemen, of policemen? Because they have done it, they've come in again, their karma is to continue it. They know it so well that they fit into the groove. Their parents did it, they'll do it, their sons will do it. This is karma. Other kinds of karma is blind energy that will push and pull unfinished business, where you'll go someplace and do something to accomplish a goal. A goal that seems to be something you must do. You're driven and nobody can figure out why. Or to make things right. Or to do something that is something you tried and failed in a past life, and here you come to do it again and make it work. That's karma. And we told you, you don't need it. 26 years ago, the first communication, we said, this is an old energy system and you no longer need it. We said instead there's going to be a more elegant system of remembrance. Instead of a blind system of energy, there's going to be a wonderful, elegant system of remembrance. Let me tell you about what happens to every old soul that is listening to this and in this room. All of you. My partners included. All of you. There come a time when you will leave this planet appropriately. And when you do, the time of return will completely be dependent on those things around you and those that you have chosen to be with the next time. And when you arrive, dear ones, literally, at the birth canal, the first breath, there is going to be a feeling in every cell that says, I'm back. And when you're old enough to cognize yourself, to see who you are and start realizing what is at hand, you're going to start remembering things from the past. Not things that are chapter and verse, but wisdom. Dear ones, when you grow up, if you burn your hand as a child, you will never go to that stove again. All through your life, to your dying day, you learned a lesson. And it goes right into the neural pathways and etches a pattern that says, danger, I'm not going to do this. In an older system, before the shift, when you were reborn, you had to do it again. And you put your hand on the stove again. Now you don't. You come in with the knowledge of what works and what does not work. Let me be clear. I'll say it again. The mistakes you made this time around, you will not make the next time. There will be an intuitive, innate sense of how to make things work and where to go. Because in this new energy, you awaken to a soul inside your body which is far more alert, knows it's back, and even though you cannot verbalize that, you have the sense of what is correct and not correct. And it's everywhere. It is in all parts of your life. It is in relationships. It is in business. And you'll feel an appropriateness or a non-appropriateness. You will be joined by other old souls slowly who feel the same thing. There'll come time when a population starts to grow in this manner because of the shift. They may not be spiritual. It doesn't matter. Because they are starting to awaken and remember what works and what doesn't. And that is why I will tell you again that after this shift, the generations to come will not create war. Because they know what doesn't work. Up to this point, every time you came in, you started over. History repeated itself because the generations didn't learn anything. Not really. You're never old enough. You died too soon. If you had lasted 200 years, you'd have known better. You would have seen it. You would have remembered it. But you don't. And therefore, one generation comes in without the knowledge of the wisdom of the last and repeats that which you did before. That is all stopping now. Old souls who return are going to start feeling a responsibility for stewarding their soul. Now here's where it gets good. I told you that in the cave of creation, you pick up the information that you had before that was Akashic, and then you come in again and you continue. What I didn't tell you was this, that all the things you do on this planet have a cumulative effect on the planet. Every lifetime you'll have from now on, because of this new responsibility, will go back into the cave of creation when you leave and be picked up when you come back, and all of it affects the crystalline grid. If you are wise enough to start stewarding that which is your higher self, your soul, you'll start understanding that what you do stays, goes into the planet, becomes part of all things. An individual who stewards their soul now and later, this will be the intuitive part of the new human. The new human will recognize there is a plan of return. Will recognize that a return means you pick it up and you go from there. Compassion has always been the key. A more elegant kind of living is one where you start etching new patterns, not only for your lives to come, but for your children. For they start to pick up the patterns that you show. You know this. This gets right down to how you live. And we say it again to all of you. Right now, how do you feel about others around you in this society? Common things. How do you feel? In a very linear way, you go to a very high-quality restaurant, you dress up. You know that it's going to probably be costly, but you're ready for it because you're there. And in comes a server. I want to ask you, who are they to you? When you look at them, first glance, old soul, oh elevated one, who are they? There'll be some who will say, well, the scenario today is I am important and they are serving me. And so I will treat them accordingly. They're the servers, I'm the servee. This is the energy you were taught. This is the energy that prevails in a linear fashion. This is what is expected, even by the one who is serving. But an elegant old soul who knows how things work and is stewarding the soul emotion, that which gets etched into the crystal, into the planet, will see that server just like them. And the server has the peace of God which is just as beautiful as yours. And there is no separation, even for the elegance of the dinner or the cost of it. The server then becomes part of the family. You can even imagine the server sitting down at the table and enjoying the meal with you. This is a minor example of what we're speaking of. How you see others, forgetting the scenario completely of status, of gender, of age, where you can look at every single human and see that they're stewarding their soul too. And together you see the commonality of the love of God in each. I'll tell you something you'll think will be funny, but if you do this, your meal will taste better. This is the way of it. It is a new paradigm for humanity that is going to start to occur naturally, especially to the old souls who return and remember what doesn't work and what does. And the key has always been, can you see God in others, no matter what they're doing with you? It goes in reverse. How many times have you had somebody in authority over you who was an absolute fool? And you can say, that's normal. What if it is normal? Can you see the God in them? Can you bless them in their foolishness? Can you smile anyway? Can you see a bigger picture of what all are learning and yet do your job in a way that honors them, even in their foolishness? Without spite, without anger. I'm talking to somebody who needs to hear this. In relationships that don't work, and sometimes you feel are endless and you're stuck there, I will tell you what changes that is when you start to see the God in the other one, if you can. And you start relaxing and you act differently, they will too. Because there is a benevolence in the system that asks for and will create harmony if you take the first step. This is new. In a lighter earth, one that has more potential, more energetic light than any other time, you're going to see more benevolence. You're going to see systems that work better if you will allow it and steward your soul. Because what you do from now on sticks in a way that never has before. The alliance you have with Gaia is closer than ever before. Believe me, you're going to pick up what you reap the next time around and the next time. And you'll know it. And that is why, dear one, the entire persona of human nature, the attributes that you think are human nature, are going to begin to shift. It's going to happen worldwide. It doesn't matter if you're spiritual or not. Wisdom is wisdom. Light and dark are the same for all. And when you arrive in a brighter, lighter earth and take on more wisdom, even if you're not spiritual, some things will start occurring to you that are very mature. Some are already seeing it in their children in a very minor way. They are different because they sense a feeling of knowing what works and doesn't. We have talked about this before. So stand by, because you will someday be one of those children who will then fight the society in your wisdom and your ways. But you won't be alone. Because more and more old souls will have this, the feeling that there is more, that you're responsible for something grander than yourself. The whole planet. And you will start stewarding your soul. This is the message of the day. It's a beautiful one. You see, there is a system. And the system is one that loves you. The human that you are is blind on purpose to the things around you which are grander than you. That is also part of the system. So that you will have real free choice. Not a choice that is battered by karma, but a choice to move in the direction that you feel is correct, based upon the wisdom you have as you walk on the planet. And that, my friends, is going to make a big difference. Some of you are already starting to feel these shifts and these changes. As I leave, I say, I want you to know that you are eternal. The death has no sting. You're always going to be back. You wouldn't miss the party. But this time, the party will be grander. Because you'll remember what to do and what not to do. And so it is. Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner steps aside, and all that he is remains as a human. The best kinds of channeling that require human language must come through the human. There are all manner of kinds of channeling. As we've told you before, there's the art, the music, the sculpture, and more. But instructions and language comes through humans. It has to. It has to. And that is in honor of humanity It is in honor of the way the process works, the God inside. Instructions from a human means more to you than you know. If it came from a rock or a tree, it would be miraculous a tendency then to worship the rock or the tree. Someone would object. They'd move the rock and cut the tree down. When it comes through a human, there would be those who might disagree. But then there would be those who would discern and know. Because the human has a built-in attribute, God inside. So it's less of a stretch of the imagination to think, perhaps, that the human being could reach out and bring in the divinity. Tonight, I want you to feel it. The discernment that you would have is important to us. We want you to know it's real. If you have a situation where a human says they are channeling, you take notes and go home and behave differently. That is not what we're asking for. We want it to resound in you as beautiful and truthful. We want you to know that this particular message is one that would never hurt you or ask you to do anything inappropriate, would love you as a mother and a father loves their offspring. We are not parents to you. We are family. But we are loving family, and the benevolence of the messages should be clear. There is great honor with your courage. You move from an old to a new energy, and within that there is so much promise. For the very paradigm of humanism, cellular structure, consciousness, has such a potential for improvement. And the part that makes us so pleased is that now we can start teaching you something very, very special, how you are changing. The human race is about to shift into a wiser kind of energy. But wisdom takes many forms. It is not necessarily just in your consciousness. Let me present something that we broached last night in a smaller meeting, and that we have been talking all around for many years. Your body, your cellular structure, even that which you would call your intellect, your thinking, all of that is somewhat restricted. It's restricted by the fact that the body engine, which you would call DNA, is only working at about a third of the efficiency that it's possible to work at. The body engine is designed in a way that you would have vastly longer lifespans than you currently do. The DNA that you have, the intellect which you could have, the connection to the other side of the veil which you could have, depends upon an efficiency that is greater than you have. And that is what you are broaching. You are moving into a greater efficiency. Don't look at numbers, that you would have a certain percentage here or there. We give you these things to make it clear to you. But when you deal with multidimensional energies, you cannot use linear terms. The evolution of the human being, all of you, not just old souls, is going to target itself in the efficiency of your DNA. The old souls will be the first ones to see it and use it. That means you, as the teachers, will then teach it to the others who are not able to see it and use it as easily as you are. Therefore, the old souls, not an elite group, are simply the older group. The ones who have a greater understanding and wisdom now on what to do with it. You can see it. The younger ones, and I speak now of younger souls, the ones on the planet who have not had the lifetime experience you have, the younger souls will see that you have something that they don't. Some of them will reject you because of that, and others will want to have what you have. More and more will see the older souls, the wisdom, the improvements, and want them. Eventually, your task will be to bring them online with what you know. Dear ones, I want to weep with that statement alone. Finally, a world where civilization begins to grow up, where there becomes a demarcation with the elders based upon the number of lifetimes you live instead of the years that you've been on the earth. Old soul elders can be 20 years old. And there will be those at their feet because you see their wisdom, not the wrinkles on their face. Where the discernment will come from a whole different place in your brain than it does now, and you will know who they are. So some will be elders on the planet, some will be young people on the planet, and there will be no generation gap between them when they have a simultaneous, synchronized wisdom. One of the things that I want to tell you about tonight that is such a difference in the evolution of humanity will be what is going to happen with your bodies. I want to review with you for a moment what a body is like operating at approximately a third of its potential. In your life right now, so many things are what we would say an issue within you. It's almost like your body does things to you. It doesn't. It does things apart from you because you do not have a bridge between your conscious thought and your cellular structure's actions. In the physical, you'll catch diseases. You won't know about it. There'll be all manner of things that you fight all your life called health. What is good for you? What is not good for you? Are you eating things that have been genetically altered? What will that do? How will it affect you? All of those things will correct themselves, dear ones, with a body that starts to evolve so that it knows consciously and cellularly what's going on. You will have discernment of food. You'll walk into the store, you'll feel its vibration and reject it or accept it. Do you have any idea what this will do to the manufacturer's sales? When human beings simply stop buying things because their intuition says don't buy them, that will have an effect, a very 3D effect. This ripples all the way through the manufacturing energy, attributes, plans. Just imagine. That's human evolution. What about the other things we have told you about that are inefficient in your body. You cannot control them or affect them. You just have to deal with them. That is going to start to change. We have told you that your intuition is going to sharpen. You will start to see the connections between brain, heart, and intuitive sense. You'll start realizing the system of the body is so much larger than science has told you. This is not the fault of science. Science does its best to give you the best it can in knowledge of how things work biologically. Doctors and nurses, trained in the very best that they know. But dear ones, what I'm telling you is that they don't know what they don't know, and it's not their fault. As human beings begin to advance and develop, the things that they will have first is the wisdom that you would continue to really conceive as consciousness change, ascension processing. I want to get ready for you to understand the cells of the body are going to start changing. Last night we told you about cellular awareness. It is all part of this. But there's one big one we haven't told you about. Some of you are bothered by something you cannot control. It's beautiful, old soul, that you have an Akash that remembers. But when you have a body working at 33%, you cannot control what it gives you. And sometimes what it gives you is past life trauma. Where was the last time you were killed, and how did it affect you this time? No control. You go to sleep, you'll have dreams. Sometimes they're exceptionally disturbing. They may be reoccurring. You want to know where they're coming from. It's the energy from the Akash. It's the last lifetime or the one before, a short lifetime where something happened. It stays with you. It sticks with you. You can't control it. You'll go to a past life reader whose gifts are there on purpose for a reason to help humanity. And if the past life reader is one who has a gift which is accurate, they'll be able to help you to see it and dismiss it. You will then be able to rewrite what happened in the past. Some of the best healing methods of this planet, we told you a week ago, are not chemical-based. No longer. They're energy-based. And the energy we speak of mostly is the energy of knowledge, wisdom, and consciousness. When you can discover something and know something, you can correct it, you can reprogram it. This day you learned about tapping, you learned about decoding a little, you learned literally about body talk. You talk to your cellular structure, it helps you by talking back, you learn things, you heal yourselves, and on you go. Some of you are distressed because you know the truth and you can't get to it. You know about how you can change that which is in you, which you want to change, but you just can't get to it. If that's you here today, I'll tell you that's why you're here today, because I have news for you. You came at the right time, at the right place. I'll give you a promise. You are getting to it because you ask for it, because this energy will support that. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to figure it out and say an affirmation, dear God, thank you for the connection you gave me today, for it's going to be different from now on. I'm in control. That's your evolution. The fact that you are asking for it generates an energy of solution. The very acknowledgement of the knowledge that you can do it creates an action. Body awareness. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to do it. You just have to acknowledge that it's there. Pause with me for a moment, even before I give you some news I've never given you before, and celebrate the power of the old soul, the beauty of synchronicity that would put you in a group like this to listen to a family member give you a fireside talk about the good news. No matter what is before you on the planet socially, no matter what your news says, everything starts with you. It doesn't start from the big to the little. It starts from the little to the big. One at a time, the human beings will change. The result will be grander wisdom, acceptance or non-acceptance of foods, policies, attitudes, everything. And as it starts to happen worldwide, and it will, eventually, you'll turn on the news, and it won't be what it is today. You're impatient. I tell you new energy is coming, you're turning on the news and say, I don't see it. Not understanding, you guide it by what you do today, not what your television set does. Your changes today will affect others tomorrow. That will affect others tomorrow, and another tomorrow. The planet changes slowly. Sociologists will tell you there have only been 4 changes since humanity began in what you do. That's how slow it is to them. And they study human behavior in groups. Do not take this message as saying it's going to take a long, long time. There is an acceleration of change. That's part of what your recalibration is. Back to the Akash. What have you been through? Also, I will tell you a truth. What have you been through? Everything. You name it, and you've been through it. Anything. Because the human experience includes so many things, especially in an old energy, where you did not have some of the comforts today you have, of health, of curing, of understanding, of knowledge, of knowing. Now, we told you in the past that human beings tend to reincarnate in what is called Akashic groups. You used to call them karmic groups. We're dismissing karmic energy. The old soul doesn't need it anymore. We'll call it Akashic groups. You tend to reincarnate in the same places and in the same families for a certain amount of time, and then you may move on. What causes you to live in a small town in Canada? Now, not all of you do, and I know who's here. I'm speaking to the locals. Why? How many of you feel you were pioneers here? Go back even further. How many of you worked the land as the ancients here? And if you were one of those, I would like to remind you something I said last night. How many children did you lose? As common things that the pioneers had. What was your reaction to it? Does it appear, old soul, in your dreams? You see, the old soul is beginning to awaken and become more sensitive, and here's the good news for you. We know about this. The body knows about this. You are broaching a multidimensional barrier of wisdom acknowledgement. The body is becoming smarter, and in the process, it's going to give you greater mental health. And the way it's going to do it is by giving you the power, not automatically, the power to choose a new word, Akashic filtering. You can control the Akash that comes to you. Now, what does it mean? If you have an inappropriate remembrance that is affecting your life, all you have to do is acknowledge it with your body and say, we do not wish to have that remembrance, for it is affecting us in this lifetime. Your body, your innate, your cellular structure, all is you. It's not another entity. Your Akash is not somewhere else, somebody else pushing a button for you. But at 30% or 33%, it feels like it, doesn't it? You can't control your dreams. You can't control the energies. Some of the habits you have are coming from your past life. Some of the things that you are reacting to today is because you have unfinished business in the past. None of that is appropriate for an old soul who is advancing in wisdom. You don't need to be bothered anymore. That's good news. Do you see what I'm saying? You have control, and the beginning of it, over your Akashic filters. Now, some of you will still have dreams, and you'll say, when can I get rid of those? That's coming from your subconscious, dear ones. That's your duality trying to get to you. That is your choice, and always has been. You have the knowledge of dark and light, and which one you choose and which one you work with doesn't have anything to do with your Akash. But there is so much that you are based upon who you were. I'm telling you, you're going to be able to clean up your act. When you get rid of the inappropriate things that are coming to you from past lives. Akashic filtering. Oh, Kryon, how do I do it? Where do I go? Where do I start? And the answer is yes. Number one, it always is this. Do you believe it? Number two, if you believe it, you can change it. It becomes cognized as your reality. Then you start working with it. The same way you mine your Akash, you use Akashic filtering. You start speaking to your own body as though it were a friend, because it is, working better than it ever has before, because it is, more aware, because it is, cells that are listening, because they are. Your Akash is a multidimensional part of your own DNA. Build your affirmations and say them when you want to. And the affirmations are you speaking to you. And you can just say it, Dear Akash, I now have the power through wisdom and ascension over what bothers us and what does not. Use the word us, not you, not them. We are now going to filter our Akash. Give me the things that I need to know, and dismiss the things that I don't. Instead of a steady series of uncontrollable thoughts and feelings and energies that come at you and disturb you in ways that shape your life, you now have control. Now, just like everything else, it's new. You may not know how to work with it right away. Some of you are able, some of you are not able, because your paths are unique. There are old souls in this room who will walk out of there different and apply this instantly and have results. And there are others of you who are coming online, very old souls, but just learning the process, the feelings, the belief. And it will take longer Don't beat yourself up if you don't get instant results. Oh, how human of you. Give it time. The wisdom of the ancients all had something in common. They looked at time differently. Didn't have any of the modern things you have today. If they wanted to communicate to a friend in another part of the country, they would write a note in their own way, and they'd get a reply in several months. What a system. And they loved it. They understood that quality takes time. This is the ancients. It's in you too. For you are your own ancients. Is it not time to not just filter your kosh, but perhaps even do something proactive? Call upon the things that you need to know that stood out because they were positive, because they saved your lives, because they gave you peace and comfort, and they were of God. This is the message for this evening. Spiritual ascension and wisdom is just beginning on the planet. The old souls get it first. They teach the others. It is the beginning. It will take some time. But this is the first time we gave you this information. Waiting for this group. Waiting for this time and this place. Think of it. Things are not always as you believe they are. We weep with joy that you've reached this point where finally we can start giving you some seeds of truth that are going to make a difference in your life. Go from this place changed. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner literally steps away. His consciousness is split. As many times as he does this, it's always new. He knows what to expect, but each time is slightly different. Dear ones, this is channeling as he does it. And as we've said before, there is no generic way to channel. A human being opens themselves up, and it can come out in song. Greatest paintings that you ever saw and experienced and felt, enjoyed, have been channeled. The greatest melodies of the planet channeled. The beautiful sculptures that you see that speak to you have been channeled. And so it comes out in so many different ways. But even those who do what you hear now are different, one to the other. Some humans must be literally taken out of consciousness, therefore they remember nothing. Then there's my partner who was asked to remain. And because he did, it took him longer. To understand what is being said, to cognize it, and to check for its integrity. Dear ones, this morning I gave a message. And I must tell those who did not hear it why they're not hearing it. The message was for you in the room. Some of you have already decided why, and there's some truth in this. Let us just say personal messages were delivered in ways that were accepted and understood. It wasn't necessary to record them. but some principles were put forward that we wish to review for those who are hearing this message. It's a principle that many have not heard, and I want to add something else to it. But before I go any further, I want to tell you that in this room, in this place, what happened this morning is still happening. There's messages being delivered to those that need to hear them and feel them. No accidents that bring you to the chairs. You know that. Long after you leave this place, this can continue. There's a linearity in your thinking that says you've come to an event, and when it's over, it's over. That the channeler leaves, but I'd like to tell you what remains. The connection remains. If you have made a connection this day and have felt something different this day that was pleasant to you, that was compassionate to you, that felt like home to you, you have made a connection with Spirit, not with the channeler. And when he leaves, long after he leaves, the connection remains. We have said this so often, but you need to hear that in this room. You're never alone. Never. An entourage is always with you, literally. It's the same one that always was. But if you made a connection, you're feeling it more. A little while ago, we started talking about something in physics which is also very spiritual. We talked about something called the field. Now, this has been known in physics by many names, and we'll say yet again that those who would use the word entrainment or even entanglement only have a piece or a part of the story of something that is very real and that plays a bigger part than ever in the new energy on this planet. The field is what we jokingly called physics with an attitude. You would expect there to be a balance in physics. Yes, no, and the answer is yes. You would expect physics and biology to work together in harmony always to create things that work. And the answer is yes. You also know that there is a specific kind of harmony that happens, a symbiosis, between the very elements of nature and physics. If you try to disturb one, it disturbs all. It's very difficult for humanity to ever balance something that has gone out of balance because they did it. And so already you know that nature then craves a certain system of balance, and it achieves it, whether humans are here or not. So there's a system. You know there's a system. But the field is something that you might even say is above and beyond it. And the field is starting to present itself on this planet in a greater way because of the shift. When you've made this shift, dear humanity, it's almost like you've made a statement, I'm staying. There's an evolution process that starts to occur. We've discussed it over and over. But in this process, there is a catalyst that starts to occur. A catalyst in physics that actually cooperates with that which you are doing and that which is happening to you now. We said earlier, the wind is at your back in this new energy. It's more than that. Physics is involved in a way to the light worker, to the old soul. You can start to feel this. It's the field. The field, as defined, is something that wishes to create harmony. It pushes things together to create harmony. In a way that you may even say that that's not really fair, because physics is supposed to be something that's absolute, and here you have a physical attribute that tries to connect things. Dear ones, this is no different than Mother Nature, of Gaia. It really isn't. It's another kind of symbiotic relationship, only this one is the human being to the creative source. Something that pushes things together, that makes them work differently, that opens doors and avenues. It's called the field. We'll talk more and more about this, but it's evident and obvious. But it's starting to create different things than you expect. The first is a review of this morning, for those who are not here. I started to tell you that there are reasons why human beings live in areas of this planet that have not seen war. If you take a look at where most of the channelers have come from in the last 25 years, it will be land that did not see war. Because the crystalline grid of this planet remembers what humans do. And so those who find places to live all over this planet that are fresh, that have had no layers and layers of drama and war and death and sorrow, are literally sitting on virgin land. And that creates something that now the field is using. Many are called to certain areas all over the planet and wonder why they're called there. And it doesn't matter what the temperature is. You come to a place and you feel this is your place. And this is where you stay. And a certain kind of consciousness that will come to a place of this nature all over the planet will create something that I want to talk about. My partner was recently in a place called Patagonia. Beautiful. Untouched. Very few people. But the ones who live there will stay there. And they say there is no other place like it. And they're called there. Even some of them live alone there. There are other places just like this, where there have been no wars. There's been no mass destruction and layers of history. And it's clean. And they feel it. It's more allied with Gaia and nature than any other places on the planet. And they're all over. Now this is for those of you who are listening, who live in some of these places and wonder why you're there. We've talked about this in the deserts. We've talked about this all over the planet where these kinds of places exist. There's something happening to you. If you live in one of these places, I will tell you something. In this new energy, because of the field, there is a connection with all of humanity. Those of you who are old souls are connected to others who are old souls. But there are so many old souls in places that are not pristine, who are not fresh. I think of those in the Middle East, on either side of the situation. And they sit upon land that is always ripe with trouble. Layer after layer, as far down as they dig, they find other cities that were conquered, that were taken. What chance do they have when they go into a meditative state to feel that which is what others feel when they're on land that has had no issues. And I'll tell you, for the first time, the field is harmonizing them together. They can go into a meditative state and they can feel the absolute beauty, pristine freshness, the virginity of the land, the connection with Gaia, and they're not even there. And the reason is because those who are in those places are transmitting it to them. So if you live in one of these places, anywhere on the planet, you know you're in one or not. You are then being what I'll call a lighthouse, a transmitter, for what you have to what they don't have, so that they can have it. And they can feel the connection to Gaia, and they can feel the peace that perhaps not where they sit. This is important for you to know. This is fairly new. For the field has always been there. But in this new energy past 2012, it is one of the physical attributes of Gaia that is beginning to shift. The shift not only is occurring naturally because you made the shift, but it's being triggered by the nodes and the nulls. That is the trigger for Gaia. We have discussed this before, what they do with the crystalline grid. We've discussed it before. As they come online, they will then align the planet to do what it now is supposed to do with you. Gaia is really involved here, more than ever before. So I say this to those who wish to sit, feel the pristineness and the beauty of Gaia in their place sit down there. They're in a difficult place, in the middle perhaps of a city, a big city. Even when you go to a park, you know that underneath it there are tubes with trains. You're not connected. There's mechanics all around. There are magnetic fields interfering with your very life. How are they ever going to feel the stillness and the beauty of Gaia? And I will say to them, just tune in. Because there are transmitters and lighthouses all over this planet living in these areas. And they're so beautiful, and so connected, and so pristine, and so good. Connected with Mother Nature in a way that is beautiful and solid. And I invite them to feel it. That's just one of the new things. Old souls are starting to transmit to each other. Now you shouldn't be surprised if these kinds of things are happening. There's another one. Difficult to talk about this. It has to do with human nature, personalities, bad habits, old habits, fear. Let me ask you, anyone listening right now, how do you talk to others? What's the natural way? Neutral. Not those in the room. I ask this audience who is listening now. And you would say, well, I have to be a little forceful to get what I need. Because I live in a difficult place. And so I approach things perhaps with a little more aggressive than most people do. And I would say to you, does that mean you're unkind to them? And that person may say, well, I don't mean to, but sometimes they say I am. But this is the only way I can get what I need. And I say, really? Because something is going to happen. And I want to tell you what it is. Because of the field. Dear ones, for many years I have said that this new energy, there can be no more fence sitting. And what I mean by that is you cannot claim to be one thing and then go out and be another. It has many names, but the fence sitter is the best. You don't want to necessarily commit to the esoteric things when the channel is over. It's how you treat the waiter who comes to your table when you have dinner. It's how you treat those on the road who cut you off. It's what you say about others when they're not there. Now you might say, well, it's good advice, and thank you, Kryon, and I'll be more kind. That's not what I'm telling you. I would like to tell you there is something going on. You see, the field wants harmony. It tries to put things together, and it's starting to increase its effect. The field is all around you. You listen to Kryon, perhaps. You've been to meetings, perhaps. And you've heard everything that I have had to say about the beauty of compassion and how you're moving into the age of compassion and what compassionate action means and the energies of it and how much easier it's going to be. And you listen and you listen. And then you go out and do whatever you want to. And when somebody is not pleasing to you, you're unkind and cutting to them. It's the only way you've lived before, perhaps. Perhaps insulting people gets your results. And you'll come back then and listen to Kryon. Feel very good. You're very spiritual until you leave the house. It isn't going to work anymore. And let me tell you why. Dear ones, the field wants to create harmony and put things together. And if the field cannot put things together, those things that it would put together become more unbalanced than they ever have before. How would you like to age faster and die quicker? If that's what you want, then continue, fence sitter. Because your very cellular structure will be rejected by the field. And what that truly means is that unbalance in your chemistry will result from unbalance in your personality. This is so profound, and you don't even know it's happening. And what you have perhaps done, some of you, not those in this room, some of you listening to this, where you felt just fine to be spiritual when you wanted to and then go out and then be angry or have drama or be insulting. I will tell you that the ones who have learned compassion will live a lot longer than you do. And how does that make you feel? It is here in front of you. Right now, things are happening we told you might happen if you pass the marker when I got here 26 years ago, and they're happening. And one of them is this: you cannot sit on the fence. You either are connected in some way to spirit with intent, or you're not, and you can't pretend. You can't pretend. Your body knows. This is not a punishment. It is a system. It's a system of beauty. It wants to harmonize that which you do and is ready to help. There are those who said, well, I'd like to do this. I'd like to harmonize, but I've had a whole life of a habit. This is just the way I work. Here's what I want to tell you. That with your intent and your affirming that you are going to change into a more compassionate person, the field will be right there. It's going to be the wind behind your back. You're going to find yourself thinking about things different, looking at others different, using different words. You're going to find you have more energy. You're going to feel your cellular structure healing when it never did before. Sores on your body will heal up faster. Did you know that? This is real. Hair will grow faster. Nails will grow faster. Did you know that? And the reason is because there is a harmony here that hasn't been here in a very long time. How would you like to take everything that I have said through the years and apply it finally to a persona that you are, so that you become a more compassionate person, slower to anger? All of this is possible because the field is on your side. Think of it as a magnificent, angelic presence who is ready to help you with everything that you're asking to become more compassionate, more master-like. I already told you the results. It's not just that you're going to live longer. People will notice. People around you. If you're young enough, your children will notice. May I say this? Even animals will notice. They'll come to you when they didn't before, because now you emanate on your Merkaba a pattern which is totally different than the pattern that it was before. No anger. Very little drama. You emanate peace. You invite compassion. Dear ones, I would not give you this information if it were not so. I want you to get ready for more of this. It's starting to happen on the planet, but especially I speak to old souls who want to be fence sitters. Come and enjoy the energy, leave and do what you want. There is a reckoning for that. And some of you will feel it. And you'll wonder why you're so tired so often. It's time to come into alignment with the creative source that is all through your body. It is here for you and always has been. The easiest thing you could do was to relax and find the compassion that has always been there. These are the things that I wish to tell you today. These are the things that need to be said. This is what is happening in the shift. You're going to see it. In so many ways, you can watch it as well. For even those on the planet that are not invested in spirituality will have the same result. Those who are unkind will bring unkindness. They will bring unbalance. They will manifest their own demise. Those who are gracious and compassionate will attract that which is beautiful and works. Watch for it. There used to be that it was neutral. There are those who would say, how could that person exist and be so ugly to other people? How can they sleep at night? You've heard that before. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Those days are over. They won't sleep at night. They will create their own demise. There's now a payoff because there's more light on this planet than there ever has before, and this field of harmony is starting to invade everything. It's almost like the beauty of Mother Nature is starting to affect humanity and expect the same thing. Symbiotic systems that work with compassion and beauty. It's going to change human nature. And we've said that before as well. I am Kryon, in love with humanity, congratulating you on the shift. And so it is.